Welcome to the ChatGPT podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Each episode, we dive into the latest developments in the exciting field of artificial intelligence, exploring its applications and potential impacts on our daily lives. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. If you've been following the podcast for a while, you'll know that over the last 6 months, I've been working on a stealth AI startup. Of the hundreds of projects I've covered, this is the one that I believe has the greatest potential. So today I'm excited to announce AI Box. AI Box is a no-code AI app building platform paired with the App Store for AI that lets you monetize your AI tools. The platform lets you build apps by linking together AI models like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and 11 Labs. Eventually will integrate with software like Gmail, Trello, and Salesforce, so you can use AI to automate every function in your organization. To get notified when we launch and be one of the first to build on the platform, you can join the waitlist at aibox.ai. The link is in the show notes. We are currently raising a seed round of funding. If you're an investor that is focused on disruptive tech, I'd love to tell you more about the platform. You can reach out to me at jaden@aibox.ai. I'll leave that email in the show notes. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about a very interesting area of AI, and that is Voice.ai. I've talked a lot about different companies like 11 Labs and other kind of text to audio voice generation tools. Today, we want to talk about what is called Voice.ai, a company that has just raised $6 million, and it has a real-time voice changer with over 500,000 users. I think this is an incredible tool, an incredible use case, and so I'm super excited to dive into this today. So, as you know, there's obviously a number of different audio AI tools out there. 11 Labs is a really popular one, but there's a whole host of others. You know, Well Said Labs, Synthesia, which does video and audio. But in any case, this, I think, is a really cool tool because what it does is it actually allows you to change your voice in real time. So gamers that are, or people that are making YouTube videos, some people want to just change their voice to stay anonymous. There's a bunch of anonymous YouTubers, different people that are, investigative journalists covering topics where they don't want themselves to be identified, whistleblowers. There's all sorts of really cool use cases for this. And what this platform allows you to do is you're able to speak and talk about whatever you want, and it changes your voice in real time. But what's really interesting is it actually keeps your same emotions and inflections and the same way you speak. It's just changing it to a different voice. This is similar to some other really interesting tools we've seen, like, for example, Humane's AI Pin, which has like a translation feature where essentially you can talk to someone in your native language, and then it will live translate that, but it's using your same voice. So your same inflections and emotions and whatnot. I see this kind of in the same wheelhouse where it's like the same concept, except now it's a completely different voice instead of a different language, but it's still your same inflections and the same like vibe that you would give off. So it's not just like you're speaking and a completely different person is parodying it. It's like you're speaking with your style of speech and there's a new voice that's saying it, which is kind of cool. So they have over 480,000 users. They have a library of over 50,000 different voice filters that you can add. And they've recently just raised $6 million in funding. And they're trying to kind of take this to a new level. Something I found to be pretty interesting is that Mucker Capital and M13 are leading the round. And before this, Voice.ai has pretty much just grown by word of mouth. So they have a Discord channel right now that has over 120,000 people in it. And what's interesting is, yes, they've just raised, this new $6 million, but they've actually done $3 million in self-funding up until this point. So currently they have their tools that are available on Mac, PC, Android, and iOS. And those are getting a lot of adoption from gamers, content creators, VTubers, and others on TikTok, Zoom, Discord, Minecraft, a bunch of different places, League of Legends, Skype, WhatsApp. So they're on a bunch of different platforms. But the Voice.ai interface essentially lets them create a new voice, or they can select from 50,000 different pre-created voices, which are shared by users like themselves, which is kind of interesting, right? This is coming from other people that are uploading these voices, and not just, Voice.ai isn't spitting out 50,000 different voices. So I think that's pretty cool. This can be used as is or modified, and they can use these live in supported platforms for recordings. So these are actually happening in real time, which I think is a really impressive feat. But the way that they pull this off is perhaps one of the most impressive things in my opinion. So right now they're planning on using this funding to hire more technical talent to build new SDKs and APIs to essentially work with different platforms like Meta, Unreal, and Unity, which I think will be absolutely amazing. And they're planning on using this for applications like singing and a bunch of other areas that I think are really, really cool. So this is obviously not a very small task. It's pretty big. And I think anecdotally, something I've heard a lot is that GPUs is essentially one of the biggest pain points and one of the biggest factors that are slowing down a lot of these AI companies from scaling up. And I believe that this is probably something that is affecting Voice.ai, because if you look at their reviews on their platform, a lot of them are saying, hey, I made an account and it just instantly added me to the wait list because it said our servers are full. So I think a lot of people are getting that. I think we'd see a lot more adoption for a tool like this if it was, fully functional and able to scale infinitely, which is, evidently what they're raising this new round of money for. And I think what's really interesting though is when talking about like the specifics of how this platform works, Voice.ai said that your voice is actually processed locally and then channeled onto whatever it's going to be used through, or like whatever platform it's going to be used on. And the CEO calls it a virtual audio cable, but essentially like your phone or your laptop or your computer is what is actually doing the processing. So I think that's very interesting. When we're talking about the fact that their servers are currently like at max capacity or whatever, this is something that obviously they're trying to use to help with that problem. And what's really interesting is when you're looking at the pricing structure on this, they have a bunch of different, allegedly different options. But if you go to their website, you won't see any pricing structures. And they actually have a lot of people on a free tier. But essentially like in to trade for getting the free tier, or how you can get on the free tier, is that they are going to be using your device to help train their AI models. So they're using the computational power of your device. It's kind of like when people torrent something, right? So you can go and you can download some sort of file and it's on like 1,000 people's devices and they're all like seeders giving you a little bits of the file. It's obviously not the same thing, but your device is actually being used, and they're having, thousands and a million of these devices that are all being used to help train their AI models, which I think is really, really interesting. So I believe that this is going to be a big power player in the space. This is a very cool tool. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of different companies are trying to acquire this. Very powerful tool, and it has a lot of different applications in a lot of different fields. Surprisingly, right now, probably because of gaming perhaps, but it has a 30% male or 30% female and 70% male of their users. But I think that there's already essentially a big user base that they're tapping into. And I think that recently Omar Hamoy, who's a lead investor at Mucker Capital, he said, Voice.ai is poised to revolutionize the AI developer community in a manner akin to AdMob's impact on the mobile app developer community. I think he previously founded AdMob, which was eventually acquired by Google, so that's probably why he brings it up. But he also says, by offering user-friendly solutions that were once exclusive to large enterprises, Voice.ai aims to democratize access for developers worldwide. I think this is going to be a really powerful tool. I'm super excited to see how this scales. I'll have to jump on the wait list and see when this launches. But overall, congratulations to the team over at Voice.ai, and we're excited to see how far they'll be able to develop with this new $6 million in funding. I just released a bombshell investigative podcast piece about Inflection AI and the dangers it poses to humanity. This is right on the back of Inflection raising $1.3 billion and becoming the second most funded AI startup behind OpenAI. The episode is called Inflection AI Raises $1.5 Billion, Thinks Ecology is More Important Than Human Life. If you haven't listened to this, I urge you to listen to this critical episode. I'll leave a link in the description to the podcast and a corresponding article with the full transcripts of my conversation with Inflection's Pi chatbot. You've been listening to the ChatGPT podcast. Make sure to rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts and have a fantastic week.